everyone and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division for the Porthello Cove and the Summer Major Tournament. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go! We're going to start off with hole number 1 here, and we're going to play with the extra mile level 5. We're going to play the drive 10% more than normal. The reason we're going to add 10% in our adjustment is that we're playing it slightly downhill. The reason we're playing on the left side here is because we do find ourselves with an easier approach towards the green for an eagle, in my opinion. I understand that you can play the right side as well, but I do believe the best way to get an eagle, especially playing from the front tee, is going to be the left side. As you can see in the video description down below, you will be able to see direct links to the specific holes in the playthrough. So if you do not want to look at hole number 1 or 2 or 3, then you can just like skip through that, press hole 8, watch hole 8, and you can back and forth, you know, you can do whatever you like. So have that in mind. As well, do not forget to hit that subscribe button to be a sub here on the channel. You can see we put ourselves there nicely on the left side. For the right approach here, you kind of need to have a driver with a good amount of power combined with a power ball. And a power ball, I mean like at least a power 1 ball, so you give yourself a little bit of distance. Our opponent here is having 6 miles per hour in wind, so he's going to just reach over the rough here. But cutting the rough there and go even shorter, that is going to be impossible for him to reach for the green from that distance. Now, still going to be tough though, and you're going to see the angle he's going to have for his second shot, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that when we have made our shot. So, we're going to play our wood club here in medium distance of our club. So, somewhere between medium and max distance of our club. The reason we do that is because we're not in max distance of our club, and also because our ball is going to follow. You will see there when we're going towards the pin that our ball is going to follow the fairway a little bit more than actually used to. We're going to go with 0.8 rings. As you can see, we're kind of playing slightly uphill this time, which means that the ball is going to travel less time in the air, or like not that high up in the air, and which will make the ball be less affected by the wind. We're coming in nicely there. We're still on the fringe, but it's going to be an easy wedge for us to make that birdie. And again, I do feel the rough bump is definitely going to be a good play for us, because that is going to give ourselves a good way for the eagle. You can see here for our opponent's shot here, he's not able to reach over the rough. And if he's going to reach over, he needs a club with a good amount of backspin, combined with side spin and also curl. And those 3 abilities does not the big dog has combined with the ball that he's having. So if you're going to play right side, it's very, very important that you put yourself in a situation with the club and the ball that you actually can execute the second shot in a good way. But now this is not going to be happening, as he's going to play himself down into the bunker here. So hole number 2, a par 3, which I actually have been already in the beginning here starting to love, because I feel even though it's a very bumpy here, we have found a very consistent bounce here for us, that we know that we're going to be at least fairly close. And of course, like when it comes to a par 3, we need to be a little bit lucky to drop that one for an hole in 1. So first and foremost, we're going to adjust this shot 30% more than normal. So the reason for that is because we're playing downhill, kind of massively downhill though, and therefore we're going to add 30% to our adjustment here. And we're going to play with our wood club. So our opponent is going to put himself up in the rough there and kind of forget to adjust a little bit more when it comes to the elevation there. So our turn. And we're going to go with a Titan ball here with the big dog. Max backspin, so 3.2 backspin, or like 3.5 backspin we'll say. And max side spin to the right. We do want to use the end of that slope on the left side to get that little extra push. As you can see on the ball guideline, that the ball is going to be pushed into the right here. Now we're just going to adjust our shot for being 30% extra. So we're going to go with 2.9 rings with the big dog, and now we're going to go without curl to the left, of course, just a tiny bit curl to the right. As you can see, we're going to get that bounce. We're going to come in and get it very, very close to dropping it though, and get the birdie, going to be happy with that one, especially when it comes to hole number 2. And play that shot in that way, then you're definitely going to be very, very close. Hole number 3, now we're going to see par 5, which is going to be very, very long. But we are not going to go full blast here. I've seen so many players when making the hole guides that went like full blast on the left side, finding themselves in the rough amongst the rock, either left, right, or center. And the thing that we are going to do, we are going to actually go short than the center of the rocks there. The reason we're going to do that is that we're going to give ourselves a longer shot for the pin though, but it's going to be a more, what can I say, we're going to have a more reliable drive that is not going to be put down into the rough. As you can see, the fairway there kind of slopes down to the right massively, and we're coming up too much to the right. We're going to fall down to the rough, or we're going to fall down the cliff on the right side, which is like the reason we're going to actually play this one short instead and rely on our wood club to be very consistent from that distance. So our opponent's going to have the rocket here, and the rocket is of course not the club to use when you play a par 5. But if that is the only club that you do have, then sure, then we'll have to go with that one for sure. But otherwise, play with the drive that gives you the most distance, so you can stay away from having to overpower your drive. Now he needs to go max overpower, and as you can see as well, we did go with a Titan ball for our approach. Again, to give ourselves some more power. We're kind of thinking 2 steps ahead as well, that we're going to play the second shot and we need distance for that as well. Look how much this one slopes here, and now our opponent is just lucky to stay before the rough there, and that is the thing that we want to stay away from by going full blast also, and just giving ourselves a little bit more control with the drive. So, okay, now we're going to play downhill, and downhill it's going to be played 40% extra with this adjustment here, as we're going to play just off from the cliff. And sure, it's going to be hard for us when it comes to not knowing like how many percent extra we're going to adjust, but we're going to add 40%, and we're going to go with 4 bars of topspin and try to line it up, of course, that we're going to have the ball guy line straight towards the pin. As you will be able to see here now, with the landing target that we did have, the ball is going to bounce exactly where we actually aimed, which just tells us that that 40% is going to be very good for us here. Kind of gets a nice roll towards the pin here, coming a little bit to the left there, but doesn't really matter. We're going to secure an easy eagle here from hole number 3. All of the par 5s in the Porthello Cove holes is going to be very, very tough to make an albatross. So if we can still be that close and make the eagle, then definitely we will be feeling very confident while going into this hole when it comes to the tournament play, no matter what type of wind we're going to have. If having a massive tailwind, just add this one, that in the end. If you're having massive tailwind for your drive, then you can play like not to the left, you can play on the right with your drive to go like full blast on the right side instead, put yourself up for a kind of a nicely wood club to bounce under the bunker, over the bunker from the top though. Okay, hole number 4. Now you're going to see 2 approaches here for hole number 4. The reason I'm going to show 2 approaches is that we're going to approach the green with 2 different clubs. And first and foremost, pack the clubs that has the most backspin in your bag. That means like if you do have the Guardian, you choose the Guardian as a wood club. You choose the Saturn as a long iron if you have that one upgraded, and you choose the Thorn if you do have that one as well. The problem we have on this account is that we only have the backbone, and how we should be playing that one then is that we'll have to go for the rough bump, and that is the thing that I'm going to show you on the first approach here. First, we're going to have the extra mile. We're going to go with a Marlin ball. There is no need to have a power ball if you're going to have tailwind combined with a club that actually have a decent amount of power like the extra mile. But if we would be having headwind, then I would be pulling out a Titan. because then I will be required to overpower this one basically max with a Marlin ball otherwise. So now we're just going to go slight amount of overpower, not much at all, and put ourselves over the rough there nicely and have an approach from the pin from this distance. And here is what I mean with where we need backspin. You will be able to see the green kind of slope massively down just in the beginning of the fairway platform after the water there. And the risk that we do take there with not having backspin on our club is, or enough backspin on our club, is that we're going to have to risk going in the rough, go for the rough bump, or having to bounce on the slope when it comes to the fairway just after the rough. And that could potentially put ourselves down into the rough again or into the bunker, because that is a hard adjustment on that position. So that is why we always should be looking for going directly to the green and giving ourselves the opportunity to adjust it properly. So our opponent is going to go into the water, and that of course is the worst case scenario if it's going to be like that. Our turn, we go for the rough bump here, as we're not going to have the backspin. So look at the ball guideline there, would be bouncing right over the green, and with the backspin we're still going to have to adjust in the slope there. Then I do choose to go with a rough bump instead, even though it's going to be very tough. So, and have in mind when adjusting like this, you're going to have lower target position, which means that, or lower trajectory, which is going to mean that the ball is not going to travel that much in the air, which the ball is going to be affected less by the wind. Weird, but that is how it works. It's perfect. I'm going to bounce in the rough there, roll up there. We're not having enough topspin to get it up there, and it is very, very risky to go for the rough bump from that position, even though we did execute it really, really well. Now we're going to go for hole number 4 again, and now we're going to go for a more normal approach, which is an approach that is going to first and foremost have a different driver, and it's going to have a different short iron. It's going to have the big chopper as a drive and the thorn as a short iron. We're still going to have the backbone, as we do not have any other long iron that do have more backspin. Otherwise, again, it's like an upgraded Saturn would be the absolute perfect, in my opinion, when going towards this pin here, because that would make it easy for us to get it stopped there. So now we're actually going to try to reach over to the fairway spot that you can see on the top right, just before the water. And then we do want to have the Titan here to at least take away as much overpower as possible. And with tailwind, we're going to definitely have the possibility to do so with just a tiny bit of overpower. Like almost one ball curl outside to the right side to just get it into the right line here. Max topspin on the big topper, going to bounce ourselves 2 times and then in the rough and roll out nicely there on the fairway. It's a tough drive, I'm not saying anything about that, but the reason we're going to try to reach over there is that we do not want to play with a long iron. Then we need to adjust our play from not having the long iron for it. But again, the ultimate solution would be to have a long iron with a good amount of backspin. So, but if you're not having that, then we need to find an alternative way to play, okay? Oh, that was very close. Now you will be able to see our approach here with the thorn, okay? And the thorn is going to only be in level 2, which is, we do not have that much ball guideline and stuff like that. But the only thing that we are looking for here when we choose a club is that we're choosing backspin. So the thorn is going to be absolutely perfect for us. And we can just hit our, just aim on a flat surface there just by the fringe, like edge of the fringe to the green. With max backspin then, of course. Get it to bounce and get it very, very close to drop that one for an eagle. So, hole number 4, 2 different approaches here. One with a rough bump and one going directly to green. I would prefer going directly onto the green, but if you're not having the club for it, then we need to find another way to play it. So, okay, now we go to hole number 5, and as the same for hole number 4, you're going to be able to see two different approaches for hole number 5. The first one, we're going to play on the right side. Like the right side, I mean we're going to bounce on that platform where we have our landing position at the moment and get it over as far to the top as possible on the right side. The other approach, we're going to play in the middle. And a kind of an easy reference for you when you should decide which way to play. If you have some sort of headwind, go to the right side. I would have to say that the big topper here would absolutely be the absolute perfect drive from this for this situation. We're going with 2.9 rings as we're going to adjust this one 10% more than normal, as it is slightly downhill. So we get it out to the left there just because we hit it great. And then we're going to be a little bit too close to the rough though, but we are not going to have a problem whatsoever to get this ball to green in 2. Our opponent here is going to go with a basic ball and also going to try to go in the middle though. But with a big topper level 2, which has only 209 yards, then you kind of need to go with a power ball, especially if you're going to play in the middle there. So, okay, our opponent gets into the rough, and that is not something that is surprising though. So, even though you might don't want to play with a Titan, and of course not a Kingmaker when you play in Rookie Division, but sometimes, if that is going to be the difference between making a birdie or an eagle on par 5 in a tournament, then you might want to spend that ball in that occasion. So, 2 bars backspin combined with max side spin to the left here to give ourselves that push that we're going to want to have. 6.6, we're going to adjust as we would be in normal adjustment, no elevation adjustment whatsoever. 2.7 rings with the big dog. We hit it perfect, and we're going to get this ball with a slight amount of curl to the left to bounce towards the pin here. Coming in a little bit too hot, so kind of going with 1 bar of backspin instead. But in the end, we're pulling ourselves in a nice way to get that eagle there from distance. And a little bit more tweak with the spin, then we're going to be a little bit closer when it comes to the albatross as well. But when it comes again to the par 5s, I said that for hole number 3 as well, we need to see them as eagle holes. I understand that might be boring, but this is a major. This is tough holes, and we will have to have that in mind, that there will be more players making a birdie here than making an eagle, especially if you're playing from front tee. So, second approach here, and the second approach, as I said from the beginning, we're going to play this one in the middle here. And the reason we're going to play in the middle is because we're going to show a different approach to the pin, also the drive. But now I'm maybe talking against myself. I said from the for the first approach that I shouldn't be going in the middle if I'm having some type of headwind. Yeah, but also it works, even though it's going to be tough. I don't suggest you do that. If you feel confident enough with your overpower, you can basically play middle, whatever wind you might have. But in the end, to give yourself an easier time to go for the pin, I would have to say, like, in the middle there would be a really good approach actually towards an albatross. But the wind is going to decide that, you know. So our opponent's going to try to go in the middle there, but that is definitely not going to be possible when it comes to with the quarterback there. It's not going to be enough power. And that is of course also something, again, like on a par 5, choose the driver with the most power that you do have. Here there is no need to use a quarterback. It's like the stats, we need to value the stat that is power here for the drive. We cannot value accuracy and ball guideline when it comes to when it comes to drive here. Here you can see there now, with the tailwind that we're going to have no problem to reach over to this tiny bit of fairway here, but this is going to be the best approach, in my opinion, to get an albatross. With headwind, then again, I suggest you go on the right side for your drive, because then you're going to have to bounce just before the bunker. So if you even that is going to go in the middle, then you need to bounce. Then you're going to bounce before the bunker and give yourself that approach towards the pin. So instead of there, you bounce before the bunker with 2 bars of topspin instead. We're coming in a little bit too hot, you know, and something that we'll need to have in mind when going for, like, we need to have 1 bar backspin at least more. Otherwise, we potentially going to pull ourselves to the fringe or the fairway just behind the pin though. So our opponent is just going to play himself forward, and I don't blame him. It's like, from the rough, you can't do that much more, you know? So, okay, this was the second approach for hole number 5. Now we're going to go and look at 2 different approaches for hole number 6. And as I say in the text, guys, as well, I just say wow, you know? I just say wow for this hole. This is, I will have to say, one of the, both best and hardest designed holes that I've seen actually in a very long time. With all the rocks there and also those 2 islands there, is going to definitely put yourself in a situation where you can be a bit fooled. I do not suggest that you play on the islands whatsoever. I do either suggest that you go with a rough bump. If you do have the wind for it, that means that you're going to have a very low type of wind and not headwind. Otherwise, you're going to just play on the fairway, just on the right side instead. Our opponent is making a really good shot for going on the island. That will have to give him though. That will have to give him. And now we're going to go for the rough bump for the first try here, and then we're going to adjust this shot 50% extra. That is because we're playing this shot massively downhill. And you will be able to see me adjust, instead of adjusting for 1.8 in wind, we're going to adjust for 2.7 in wind with the big dog. 1 bar backspin, 1 bar side spin to the right. I'm going to go with 1 ring. Now we're not going to use any type of curl whatsoever, just going to hit the ball perfect. As you can see, look how much this ball is going to travel in the air here. Bounce the rough nicely there, exactly as we planned, and getting it very close to an hole-in-one. Still, we drop down to the fairway there, and have that in mind, do not come in too hot, because then you're going to potentially put yourself in the rough. But I will take that approach in a tournament play all day and every day actually, because that was very close to an hole-in-one. Okay, so now we do have a different approach here that I'm going to show you. And that is going to be for us to go on the right side. Yeah, you're going to see that one when I'm going to play. Our opponent is going to try to go on the other island. And if the island that our first opponent to play is tough, this is going to be tougher. And it's very easy to forget to adjust for the elevation, which happens here. And also, when you bounce on that island, you kind of need to adjust for 2 bounces, because it's going to be first dropping down from dropping downhill, then we're going to dropping downhill again. But with tailwind here, we're going to go with max backspin on the Guardian level 2. Almost, we just have a tiny little bit going from there. And now we're going to adjust this shot as well 50% extra, as it's still going to be the same type of distance that we did have with the rough bump though. And we are going to go with just a tiny bit of curl. I would suggest to go with more curl, because you can see the amount of power we get with our ball is actually good, But as we're coming in too much to the right, we're going to still drop down to the fairway there and have a wedge for the pin. If having a little bit more curl, we would be having the power enough to fall down in towards the pin there. Hole number 7, a par 4, which we're going to play very conservative. When it comes to the other divisions in the tournament, you might going to see some trick shots here, and depending on the wind we're going to have in the tournament, that is going to be applied here as well. If having this type of tailwind when it comes to the tournament in the rookie division, it's not going to happen though that we're going to have 9 in wind, in my opinion. We might going to have like 4 or 5 in wind as tops. But with a berserker, you might going to be able to reach over to the fairway directly on the left side. But having any type of side wind or headwind, you're not going to be able to reach over. Then you need to either play yourself up safe on the right side, or you need to play yourself up safe on the left side. Or you need to try to hook it. Or slice it, depending on the wind. So, in this example here, we're going to play ourselves up short on the right side, play very conservative, and give ourselves an open shot with the long iron that we do have, which is going to be a very good approach for us. And that is going for you that might not be that feeling that confident when going for a hook or a slice shot on this one. It's not necessary, because again, you're going to be able to give yourself a good approach from this distance though. So extra mile level 5, I'm going to adjust this one for being 10% extra, as we're playing over water and slightly downhill as well, as you can see. We hit it perfect, and we're going to use the side spin and the back spin here on this approach. To put ourselves on as close to the left top there as possible. So our opponent is going to try to go over here now with a basic ball. It's like, yeah, it's not going to work. I don't blame our opponent for trying though, but use a power 1 ball, power 2 ball, power 3 ball here. At least give yourself the opportunity. Here from this distance, we're going to adjust our backbone from being in minimum distance of our club. As you can see, we are in minimum distance, and that is the adjustment we're going to choose. 4 bars of backspin, and we're going to use the ball guideline to try to just point ourselves as close there to the pin as possible. Might going to adjust a little bit to the left here to kind of counter for the push that we're going to get for having the crosswind 7.7 there. So we're going to go with 3.9 rings. We hit it perfect. I'm going to get this one to bounce. We're getting very, very close. Like basically half a square from the pin there. And I think that is the ball guideline position that we need to adjust to get that one even closer. So that is hole number 7, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to go towards hole number 8, which is going to be the last par 3. So, here we go. Hole number 8. Hole number 8. So our opponent is going to go with the Viper here, and you can see the consistency in the bounce. And we're going to have basically the same type approach here. We're going to adjust this one 20% more as we're going to play downhill. So 20% is going to be our magic number when it comes to that. And as you have been hearing me, I've been talking a lot about the elevation here, because many of the holes is going to be played downhill. We have the Guardian level 2, and we're going to find the left side of this tiny fairway. So take a look at the ball guideline here. We're kind of trying to find ourselves an approach where we're going to have a consistent bounce towards the pin. You might going to have to kind of tweak with side spin if you're going to have crosswind. So you get that firm bounce that you want to have to go towards the pin. The green is designed like a turtle shell, which means that you're going to, in this particular green, if you just come too much to the left or too much to the right, you're going to fall down. And if you are coming in too hot, you're going to be pulled down into the bunker or into the rough. We make an excellent shot here. We went with 3.9 rings with the Guardian as we adjusted it from being in medium distance, but with 20% extra. Hole number 9, the last hole of the playthrough and also the last hole of the tournament. This is going to be hole 9 and hole number 18. And now we're going to pick a Titan ball here. The reason we're going to pick a Titan ball is for the same as we have on the other par 5s, which we do need to go with power here. The power is going to help us big time when it comes to the second shot. Like the drive, we might not be requiring having a power 3 ball here, but at least for the second shot we kind of need to. Otherwise we're going to have a big problem though, going towards the pin. So you can see we're bouncing it nicely here with 3 bars of topspin, but you know, we do need to reach further here on the fairway. So if you do have a driver with more curl and also be then possible to make more topspin here, we do not have that good curl with the XMI level 5, which means that we cannot use full topspin as we're going to pull ourselves in the bunker on top there, as you can see on the left side. So if we would be having a, for example, an upgraded quarterback, we would maybe be having an upgraded big topper, then we could be going with that one as well with a power 3 ball. But now we need distance for a drive, for not having to overpower our shot that much, then we need to go with extra mile level 5. Now we're going to have a hard time to approach the green in 2, which is going to be something that we'll have to be very, very accurate to not put ourselves in the rough. So we're going to go with max topspin here. As you can see, we are way away from the pin here. And now we kind of need to use all the skill that we do have to at least get it close. Now we're going to go with as much curl as possible, combined with a little bit of topspin. A little bit of overpower with max topspin. I would have to say that in this particular situation, we need to go with at least 50% overpower to be able to get ourselves to the green. So our opponent's going to have the horizon here. The horizon is not... It's going to be a good decision actually, to be honest. Like the horizon do have 173 yards, which is going to be kind of similar as a maxed out sniper when it comes to yards. And you do need yards more than you need accuracy and ball guide for this approach. So for hole number 9, especially here for Rookie Division, you need to get the driver with the most power and the wood club with the most power as well. Good shot from our opponent. Can't really request more than that. So now we're going to have a wedge for the pin, which I know many players is going to have, and that is not going to be not just going to be applied in the Rookie Division. That is going to be in other divisions as well, depending on the wind, of course. But the trick is to get as close to the top there for your drive. Then you're going to have an easier time to get to green and stay away from wedges like this. So this was the playthrough for the Rookie Division in the Porthello Cove and Summer Major Tournament. If you do have any questions, please make a comment in the comment section below. Again, check the video description. You will see direct links to the specific holes in this playthrough. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and here in the end I want to wish you the best of luck in the Summer Major.